Hello, welcome to our first podcast. I'm going to start again. What do I say welcome to?
Yes.
Hello and welcome to... Hello and welcome to Do You Realise You Have the Most Beautiful Taste? I'm Nick Sandry, brewer and founder of Molly Rose Brewing. I'm joined by Liz, our Chief Marketing Creative, and Jordan, our R&D Chef. The reason we've started this podcast is so that we can have a bit of a chat to people that inspire us about flavour and kind of share where we get our inspiration for making different beers and making different foods, and maybe make some beers along the way with some pretty inspiring people. So we've actually got a collab between Jordan and myself to launch the Chef's Table. We'll be releasing a new beer with every Chef's Table event that we do every month.
This is cool. I haven't heard about this collab beer.
You haven't?
What are you two conspiring to do?
Do you want to tell us a bit about the actual dish?
Oh yeah, for sure. Kind of drawing on the experience of what I've had from like my previous workplaces where it's mostly Italian. We're doing filled pasta / dumpling, which is filled with celeriac and some different kinds of mushrooms like some shiitake, some creminis, and a couple of chestnut mushrooms and stuff like that. And then encasing all of those is like a fir-based broth. So like star anise, lots of clove, quite heavy on the cinnamon as well. And then, ginger, garlic, some galangal, some shallots, and everything is just kind of like roasted really heavily and almost charred. So you get a really deep, really like caramelized flavor coming throughout it. That dish is just basically finished off with a little bit of smoked butter.
Yeah, yum. It's really delicious. I've tasted it.
Yeah,
I don't think you have, Liz.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, I ate it all.
Yeah.
It was so delicious. So I've had in the back of my mind kind of a farmhouse style beer with jasmine tea would be the first beer for our Chef's Table. And when I tasted Jordan's dish, I thought this is perfect. And I'd love to incorporate not only some of the spices that Jordan's used, but also some of the mushrooms to kind of give this earthy, spicy undertone to jasmine tea, which takes a really top pretty note. So I think it's going to be a fun kind of play on Vietnamese food with that jasmine tea, which you often drink while you're eating.
Yeah.
And then this earthy fir spices in a kind of amber farmhouse barrel fermented beer.
Yum.
It should be great, I reckon. So we're actually going to come up with a spice blend, Jordan and I, and then we're going to run it through our rotary evaporator, our little distillery, and kind of get this pure essence of mushroom and spices, and then dose that back into the beer, which will be sitting on the jasmine.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
So this is obviously our first podcast, and we're bound to get things wrong. I realised that we didn't actually explain what the Chef's Table was. What the goal was to show everyone that beer can be just as good of a pairing to food as any other drink. And I personally think beer can be better than any other drink. So the concept was to have a dinner where the food was extremely high end and we paired beers with it that really elevated both the food and the beer, serve it in beautiful glassware, and just have a lovely time explaining why we're so passionate about food. Do you have anything else to add, Jordan?
I like to work in the seasons, so Southeast Asian food doesn't really depend on the seasons most of the time, apart from like a wet and dry season. Other than that, like it's not the same as we don't have 4 seasons in our countries.
Absolutely, I think that could be a really fun and creative barrier almost, that you can step over it with creativity.
Sure,
and I know for myself, when I get handed an ingredient, like in our Not Wasted series where we get waste products out of things, it really flips my thinking on how to make a beer out of that product. Because that's tasty, and that's tasty, but how do you get it all together in the end?
Yeah.
I'm excited to see as we evolve. So we're out to launch the autumn menu, and then I bet you're probably going to start developing the winter menu pretty soon as well.
Yeah.
I think from my point of view, I'm not the brewer and I'm not the chef, but I love the experience at the Chef's Table because it gives people a place to come and experience those two sides kind of melding together to create like an intimate experience. Like you can talk to the chef, the pilot brewery is right there next to you. The service is incredible. Like, that's one thing Molly Rose does extremely well. So, either Cass or Simon will take you into the pilot brewery and you go taste straight from the vats, and it's just that kind of experience that you can only really get tucked away in the beautiful chef's table area.
There's not many places in the world that you can have that experience. It's pretty cool and pretty inspiring for us as a beer business to be trying to do these things that don't really exist. Obviously, there's been a few notable exceptions. Josie Bones back in Melbourne, that were just probably 15, 20 years too early. And then, a couple of other places around the world that I visited while I was traveling. It's fun to be able to put it out there and give people an experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the main reasons I wanted to do this podcast is to probe into the brains of people who love food and drink. I'll start with you, Jordan.
Yep.
Do you have an elusive flavour combination that has evaded you and lurks in the back of your mind?
What I'm thinking about is something called asam laksa. So what we have in Malaysia, we have roughly about 3 to 4 types of laksa. And among those, one of them is called asam laksa. So asam is, translation is basically tamarind in Malay. Definitely something that I want to explore a little bit more.
Yeah, nice. That's a good one. Oh, I'll throw that over to Liz.
There was a Chinese restaurant, so it had a Szechuan pepper chicken dish. And what I absolutely loved about it was that it had these like pickled bits in it, but I don't know what they were.
No, the pickles.
Oh, yeah?
I think I know the pickles.
Oh, yeah?
I'll send you a link offline.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Solved the problem. How's that?
Maybe.
So, Jordan, what's your earliest memory of a flavour or a drinking and eating experience?
Honey's chicken rice, and we had a drink in Malaysia. It's called 100 Plus. Something that you drink like while working out or like after you play sports or something.
Yeah, right.
Or just sweating heaps in
Yeah.
Malaysia.
Yeah, or
Salty.
just something like
Yeah.
insanely much. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's a good memory. How about you, Liz? Any early memory flavours?
Yes. My grandparents always had ginger nuts. So I would go over there and have ginger nuts and lemonade.
Love old school memories. And that's what I love about food and drink is it takes me back to a time and a place. When you remember what it tasted like, it takes me back to what I can smell and what I can hear and how you're feeling at the moment. And that's the magic thing about food and also drink. It's so experiential and it's a lot of fun. And then the last question, what's an eating or drinking experience that you've had recently that really resonated with you?
I had a dining experience at Gaia, that's up on Gertrude Street. Like non-alcoholic pairings are not as popular as alcoholic pairings for
Yeah, absolutely.
a bunch of reasons in
Yeah.
Melbourne. But yeah, so I think they put really great care into it and lots of thought into it as well.
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty impressive. It's not stuff that you can buy really that readily either. There's a bit of non-alc stuff out there that you can buy, but they'd have to make a lot of that
Yeah.
from scratch.
So everything is definitely made from scratch, like all the different infusions and flavors.
A lot of work.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, very inspiring.
We do a non-alc option for the chef's table, don't we? The pairings.
We sure do. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to go down to Gaia and steal
Yeah,
a
I
few
know.
recipes.
Yeah. Or just get them to make one of the
Oh, absolutely.
drinks for
Yeah, let's
us.
have them on
Yeah,
the podcast.
Yeah. So do you have one then?
I actually hadn't thought about this question.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. No, I got nothing.
You're not allowed to have nothing.
I know. I know.
It's not fair. You give us the questions 2 minutes ago to answer, and then you don't even think out one yourself.
Something that was really cool. My family, so my partner Callie and my 4-year-old son Seb, we live in the West, and so we went for a walk through Footscray. I think we bought 5 different small things from 5 different shops, and we just ate them along the way for breakfast brunch the other day, and they're all amazingly delicious, whether they're like a little pineapple bun, we got an iced tea, we got some fried chicken, we got some dumplings, and a few other things. It was pretty fun.
It's like a walking yum cha.
It was like a walking yum cha. I want to thank Jordan. Really looking forward to the Chef's Table when we relaunch it in March.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and the food is looking and tasting amazing. Thanks so much for joining us on our first mini pod. If you liked it, please subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode, and check out the show notes for the full Chef's Table menu. We cannot wait for you to join us as we meet and collaborate with a bunch of great makers, shakers, and tasters on Do You Realize That You Have the Most Beautiful Taste?